Hey there, you're awesome Enlightened Coach Tribe. It's me, Dax, back with another on my 30 dates with Dax. We're at date 15 already, where I am basically answering all of your biggest challenges, questions, struggles around building a coaching business, being a coach, or overcoming some of the more kind of personal aspects, maybe around self-esteem and thought processes and beliefs that are maybe holding you back in your business. And today, got a question here from tribe member Paul Robinson. How do you structure your coaching around taking time off, holidays, travel, etc.? I'll explain, and hopefully the question makes sense. From a PT point, even when I advertise the services as kind of XYZ pounds, kind of £1,000 for 4 weeks, for example, people still see it as an hourly price, money for time rather than access or training or coaching. Even if I don't say I charge hourly, the client will still see it that way. So if they miss a PT session due to sickness, for example, they want it adding to the next month, or they'll ask for money off. With yourself, from what I can see, you travel a lot. How do you explain to a client, for example, when you travel to Everest or something, that you're still charging the same price, and that two clients may actually have a different experience? Somebody may have gotten 8 sessions with you this month, and somebody's only had a single session. What's the justification in the process? It's a great question, and it's one that I see kind of really preying on the minds of a lot of coaches. They get really kind of stressed and confused around this one. So let me just tell you how I do it, and I'm not for 1 second claiming it's right or wrong for you, but maybe it's just an opinion, or it's a process that you've not seen or experienced or entertained as an idea before. So for me, it's fairly simple. I charge a set rate for my coaching, generally. Now I say generally because I still actually have one legacy client who is paying me the equivalent of by the hour. And I mostly still let that go on because I'm more than happy to. I love the relationship I've got with the person. I don't really want to change very much about it, and I'm happy with that. But any new client that comes along, and any and this has been the case for some time, I explain to them from the get-go that when I am working with them as their coach, I am available to them for the entire year. And whilst I am not the kind of person who's going to sit there with a calculator and measure every time I do some work for the client in the background, like produce a little video like this for them to explain something, or create a new worksheet, or sort out a new exercise, or any number of things that I may be doing for them outside of air quotes office hours. Whilst I don't measure that, I also don't expect to be measured for every kind of minute thing, right? For example, when you buy a car, they don't break the cost of a car down into saying, okay, so £800 worth of that car is in the tyres, and you just basically go and buy a car, right? And the car is your car. And how often you can't go back to the dealers at the end of the month and say, at the end of the first year or whatever, and say, oh, I'm really, really pissed off because I didn't get enough miles out of the car, I didn't take it off the drive very often, basically just sat there, it was a bit wasted. Well, in many respects, coaching is a little bit the same. Another analogy that I use is like eggs, right? Kind of, I don't know what it's like where you come from, but from where I come from, you can't walk into a supermarket and think to yourself, I really fancy an omelette this morning. I only want 3 eggs, and you take 3 eggs out of the carton, and you take these 3 eggs to the till, and you put it on the conveyor belt and get charged individually for the eggs. They sell them in 6 or 12 or 18 or whatever it is, right? Usually in some multiple of 6. They sell them in a set quantity, and you buy them. And whether you are hungry enough to eat them all today, whether you spend the next 8 weeks eating 6 eggs, or I don't want to eat an 8-week-old egg, but you get the message. Whether you don't eat them at all, whether you forget about them and they go rotten and you decide to throw them away, the point was you knew what you were buying at the start. And I don't see it as any different to that. Like, kind of, clients only think that they are buying by the hour because that's a story that you perpetuate with them. You say, okay, it's the equivalent of, for example, £50 an hour, or £150 an hour, or £1,000 an hour, whatever. How about if you just stop talking about it in those terms, and you pretty much say, look, my package of coaching puts me basically on standby in your life for pretty much as is needed, right? And that's how I explain it to my clients, as much as is needed. So if they want to get on 3-4 calls with me this week because they're going for a really hectic, crazy period and they need a lot of support and a lot of clarity and a lot of direction, I don't charge them more. I don't say, oh, well, I'm counting that and measuring that against the overall picture, because actually for the next 3 weeks we might only do 1 call a week, and then they or I might go away on holiday or something for 4 or 5 weeks. I've had clients that I haven't spoken to for 5 weeks because they've said, I don't really need you at the moment. Like, everything is going really well. I'm very, very clear. And some of them I just check in with once every few weeks or once a week for like 10 or 15 minutes on a very, very quick Skype call. Hey dude, how's it going? Everything's good. Still working on the stuff we were doing last time. I don't feel particularly stuck or stressed or challenged. I just got to kind of get on with this. Anything I can help you with? Yes, no. Okay, great. And that might be the extent of it. So we don't count minutes, we don't count hours. If a call needs to go on for longer, it goes on for longer. If we achieve everything we needed from a call in 10 or 15 minutes, then it's 10 or 15 minutes. Be very clear that you're here to, what you're here to provide. For me, it's clarity, direction, focus, strategy, and support. And that takes as long or as little as it takes. And that is how I sell the coaching. So when people, eventually start coming to me and saying, "Well, hold on, like I only, I noticed that I put like X thousand pounds in your bank account this month, and yet I've only spoken to you once, or maybe I haven't spoken to you at all." Like, okay, cool, but is the work that we're doing getting you what you signed up for? Right? That's what we need to focus on. Or I believe that's what we need to focus on, getting away from selling your service as a commodity. Don't forget, there's a lot, particularly if you're a health coach or a trainer or a nutritionist as well, right? But I think this is true of all coaching, but particularly in those areas where you generally tend to be sat there, the client thinks of the one-to-one time when they're working with you, for example, on the gym floor or in the consult room or whatever, as, well, I'm paying for an hour, I'm getting an hour, that kind of thing, and they see it as a one-to-one swap. The biggest and most challenging part of health coaching is the designing of the programs and services that the client is going to experience. So like, 30-day nutrition plan, for example, where you're working out all their macros and micros and carbs and proteins and what they should eat at which meal and what they should have for snacks and all that kind of stuff. Then you're working out the training programs. All of that is being done in the absence of the client. And really, that is the most skillful part. If you're a trainer or nutrition coach, the most skillful part is in the design of all that material, right? And so that's the bit that you're not charging for. That doesn't really make sense. Be very, very clear that what you do is you charge for your expertise. How much, how little of that expertise a person uses, it's kind of up to them. That's why I charge the annual programs that I do, right? So I only work in 3 different ways. I work annually. You can come and work with me on a retreat, or you can work with me intensively for like a 2-day mini retreat kind of thing, right? 2-day intensive. And that's it. So I don't really have kind of people that are floating in and out of my life for a few weeks here and there. That's not how I personally work. Regardless, think about how you can put together a program where you just have the price tag on it and you just say that is the program. How many sessions do I get on that? Now, if you want some kind of prediction and response for the client, you might say to them, well, look, my average client on this program comes and sees me twice a week at the gym or whatever, or has one call a week with me. That's on average. But every now and then when we're pushing for something a bit more intensive, I've had clients who've come in as many as 4 or 5 times a week. And this is true for me as well. And I'm not counting each session. I'm saying, oh my God, if I was, I'm out of pocket here. It's just part of understanding this is what I sold. I sold it this package in this way. My clients don't complain when I go away on vacation, partly because if it's a real vacation, I'll make it very clear it's a real vacation. I'm not going to be around for coaching. If I'm traveling on business, I'll say, hey, this is our time difference. This is our time zone difference. I'm willing to take and make calls between these times, given the time difference variance. Would you like some calls from me while I'm away? And that's it. Particularly coaching. I mean, you can do coaching from anywhere in the world, so there's no real excuse. But if I'm taking a vacation and I say, hey, I'm on vacation, you won't be able to get me for the next few weeks, and there's no explanation about so that equates to X amount of refund, or sorry, I'll make it up to you when I get back in your next package or whatever. That's not how it works. It's just we're working together for a year. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. From the perspective of Paul, you said every month I give clients as much access as possible outside of the PT session. Yet every month I have clients saying I only had 6 sessions this month, so can I pay for 6 next month, kind of thing. Well, if you are going to get clients who are actually kind of counting and weighing and measuring every single thing that you do for them, and right now, let's just for argument's sake say right now you don't feel you're in the position to, kind of fire them, to use that common terminology. You don't want to kind of fire them for that, but you still want to rein this in. Just make it really, really clear. Like if they want things outside of the session, just say, okay, I can book you in for we can book you in for a strategy session around this particular challenge. We can book you in for a specific nutritional consultation if you'd like, or we can book you in for a new program design session. How's Wednesday next week sound? Cool. Would you rather pay for that now, or would you rather kind of add that into the next program package? And then clients will start to get the message like, oh right, I have to pay for that. Well, yes, of course you do, because this is part of the work, right? Don't do everything for a client outside of the session and have them holding you accountable for every credit that you have. But by, on the flip side, have them kind of thinking that everything that you do for them, you have to do as part of it, and that they don't have to reciprocate in some way. This isn't all just about the money, but this is also, it's about having the clients really understand the value of the work that you do. So you don't have to be shitty about it, and you don't have to kind of make this all about money, but you just get clearer and clearer and clearer. Future conversations. Hey, I need some help with this. Great. Well, let's get you booked in for a session around that. That's nutritional consult. Let's get you booked in and get your nutrition dialed in for next month. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks so much. That'd be awesome. Okay, so would you rather pay for that now, or would you rather add that on to your next package? Right? Just start making it clear. You don't kind of put it up for negotiation like, oh, I hope you don't mind if it's okay if I charge you for this, because honest, Mrs. Jones, this is my work, and I hope you understand I've got to charge you for it. No, just very, very simple. Would you rather pay for it now? Would you rather pay for it that I add that onto the other package? I think that's fairly simple. So I hope that makes sense, Paul, and any of the others of you that are listening to this, if you've experienced similar things, all I can say is, it serves us each to be very, very clean and clear around what we want and what we don't want around finances. What I personally don't want, the reason why I designed my monetary practice around this, is because I don't like chasing clients every month for money, and I don't like the whole weighing and measuring game of, well, you did 8 last month but 7 the month before, therefore I owe you 1 credit onto the next month, and all that kind of. I never ever got on with that model very well, and it always kind of, it created unnecessary friction points. And I'm all about engineering, right? I'm about engineering my life, engineering my business. And really what engineering is about reducing drag and increasing efficiency, right? It might be uncomfortable the first time you broach these kind of things, but believe me, once you have, and once they've been addressed, all that friction disappears and life gets very, very easy for you. Or you can stay with the friction and you can say, well, but my clients won't understand that, my clients won't like that, or my clients have gotten used to me giving them it for free and they're going to take it really crappy if I start asking for money for it now. That's a choice that you as an adult and as a business operator have to make for yourself. What I would always say is choose easy, choose friction free, right? And sometimes you might have to bump into a little bit of friction right now, but once you've dealt with the friction, it can become fairly effortless around money. It doesn't have to be this big thing that it often becomes. So I hope that makes sense. You don't have to agree with me. You can call bullshit on it. You can kind of have your own perspective on it, of course. I'm not here stating that this is the only way to do things. I was asked a question about how do I go about it, so that's how I do it. And certainly those people that I've taught this kind of methodology to around money have certainly reported back to me that they've had a much easier experience of money after they've gotten through the initial transition phase with legacy clients who are used to doing it in other ways, but after the first challenges, that things got easy. So I hope that's going to be the case for you, but I'd love to get your feedback as well. So leave me some feedback and I'll speak to you again really soon. Take care.